We're gonna do this blog post in one take. Gosh, we've all been there. You've written a great beginning to your story. You've written a satisfying and climactic ending. Now it's time for the hard part, writing the middle. Well, normally you'd write the beginning and then the middle and then the ending, but the middle is usually the most challenging part of a story to write. With the beginning, we have the novelty of learning about new characters and exploring the setting. There's also generally some major event that precipitates the whole story and sets everything in motion. The ending gives us both the climax and the resolution of the story. All the plot lines and story arcs come together, if you've done it well, in an exciting and unexpected way. Middles don't have any of that stuff, but that doesn't mean that they can't be exciting or interesting to the reader. So let's talk about a few tips to prevent your middle from becoming too saggy. Always a good idea with the holidays coming up. Tip number 1, use your middle to give a sense of progress. You should always give the reader the impression that the story is progressing towards its conclusion. The middle, which is generally situated between the beginning of the story and the ending of the story, is where this typically happens. The characters should be taking steps to slowly reach the goals that you've set out for them, and the reader should understand that things are getting closer. If the characters don't have any steps they can take, or achieving their goal only requires a couple of steps, then the middle of your story is going to be boring because there's nothing for the characters to do. It's boring because things aren't moving, nothing is happening, there's no motion in the story. How you create this motion or progress will depend on your story and your character's goals. If your story is a quest, then your progress will be the characters moving across the map towards their destination. If your story is a mystery, then the progress will happen as new clues and information are uncovered. Think of this as breaking down your character's larger goal into several smaller goals or individual steps that the character needs to accomplish. The middle of the book is where the character sets out to work on and achieve these goals. Having your character achieve some of these goals or take some of these steps will give a sense of motion to the reader. Instead of having one large goal that we don't get any resolution on until the end of the book, we'll have several smaller goals that will get accomplished between now and then. Just be sure not to make things too easy for your characters. It should be harder than segueing into our next tip. Tip number 2, dial up the conflict. Siri, call conflict. This isn't an iPhone. It's not even charged. Get it? Dial up the conflict because it's a phone. If your characters progress towards their goals without facing any obstacles or setbacks, then the middle of your story is going to suck. You need to adopt the mafia boss mentality here. Delivering physical and emotional pain will get what you want. Throwing things at your characters that set them back on their journey in ways that weren't expected is a good way to add some interest to the middle of your story. Your characters should try things and fail. They should misinterpret information. Their flaws should come home to roost and prevent them from achieving things. Anything that you can do to make it hard for your characters to get what they want. You should mix these setbacks in with your characters achieving things though. They shouldn't fail all of the time. Too many setbacks or failures will become tiring for the reader. Your character might achieve their goal and move closer to what they ultimately want, but in doing so create another problem that they need to solve. Or they might encounter an escalation in the stakes of the story. Or they might just crash and burn. Not only will these things help the middle of your story, they'll help me segue to our next tip. Finally, tip number 3, vary the emotion. Any story that follows the same emotional beat for its entirety is going to be boring. If things are constantly exploding and everyone is constantly running and things are constantly exploding, this is going to tire out the reader. In a similar but completely different vein, if the entire time is spent in reflection and introspection, that is going to eventually bore the reader. A common issue with middles is that the emotional state of the story is stuck at one level. The emotional constant is going to make the reader feel stuck, like things aren't changing and no progress is happening. There's 2 ways that you can address this. One is to vary the emotion, the other is to escalate it. With the variability approach, you will alternate between moments of high emotion and slower moments. moments. The moments of higher emotion are where the action and major plot points of the story happen. The lower moments are where reflection and introspection will happen. These moments will give the reader a break and make your more exciting moments even more exciting. The other approach is to escalate the emotion over the course of the story, either raising it or lowering it. This will help to give the reader a sense of progress and change, and will help build tension towards the climax of the story. Generally, you're going to want to combine both of these approaches. You're going to want to vary the emotional level throughout your story, but also, as you move towards the end of your story, you're going to want to have some sort of an escalation as well. So there you have it, 3 tips for helping de-sagify your middle. We've reached the end of this video. Hopefully you didn't find the middle too saggy. If you enjoyed this content, you can check out all my other writing advice videos and subscribe to my channel. I post new writing advice videos every Wednesday. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.